I have a secret that is very important for you to understand this video. So अगर हम निफ्टी एंड डाउ जोन्स का चार्ट देखते हैं over the last 4 months or so, तो we'll notice that Dow Jones almost all-time highs पे है, but Nifty is still 6% below all-time highs. So that would make us believe that the Nifty has underperformed the US market. Seems very logical, except it is not. See, when we say Nifty 25,000 पे है, then what do we mean by that? 25,000 of what? 25,000 rupees, right? Similarly, जब हम कहते हैं कि Dow Jones 6,000 पे है, तो 6,000 of what? $6,000. Now the problem is $6,000 जो अप्रैल में मेजर करते थे, आज उससे बहुत कम मेजर करते हैं. Let's use the dollar index as a measurement to see ये कैसे वर्क करता है. April में $6,000 would have been worth $6,57,408 indexes. But now that the S&P is at 6,250, this $6,250 is worth $6,11,250. Means even though in absolute terms S&P seems to be higher than it was in April, उतना ही S&P खरीदने के लिए you have to spend 7% less. Nifty has actually outperformed the US market over the last 4 months, but हमें ये कभी realize ही नहीं हुआ. That is an example of market mischief, and those are the kind of things that I love to point out. And जैसे ही हम Nifty के range bound behavior को इस viewpoint से देखते हैं, it flips the script. Because now Nifty is not range bound at a random 25,000 का level. Now Nifty is range bound near its all-time highs, and that matters a lot. क्योंकि अगर कोई भी stock market bear market में जाने वाला होता है, वो उसके around एक new all-time highs नहीं बनाता है. Which is why Nifty is trying to decide उसे bear market में जाना है या नया bull market बनाना है. And उनके लिए individually जो contributing factors हैं, जब तक हमें उन factors के जवाब नहीं मिल जाते, तब तक Nifty range break नहीं कर सकता. The factors are your likes of the tariffs, the debt burden and the Indian consumption story. So जब तक हमें इन सारी चीजों का जवाब नहीं मिलता, तब तक हम शायद इस range में रहेंगे. But our job is to predict this. So let's try to do that. Is Nifty going to break out from this range or break down? What will contribute to it? That is our question to answer. So Nifty को break out करने के लिए we need two main things to happen, both domestically focused but globally impacted. हमें चाहिए कि हमारी consumption वापस आए. First up, domestic consumption ही था जिसकी वजह से इंडिया की कंपनीज के इतने अच्छे रिजल्ट्स आए and उसकी वजह से Nifty kept on scaling new highs even though geopolitically इतनी problems चल रही थी. उस domestic consumption ने एक major hit लिया है and that came from 4 main reasons. First, IT companies ने अपनी salary hikes almost बंद ही कर दी हैं. Now because of that हमारा जो upper middle class है उसका जो spending power है वो काफी curb हो गया. So अगर ये salary hikes वापस नहीं आती हैं तो consumption का भी वापस लौटना थोड़ा मुश्किल है. Now will they come back? Will it not? We'll answer in a second. Second, a large chunk of India's domestic consumption came from something called the BNPL or the buy now pay later. And इस segment में we are seeing saturation. यहाँ पर credit defaults are rising very fast, which means the youth doesn't actually have money to pay. अगर यही होते रहेगा तो consumption कहाँ से बढ़ेगा? कुछ नए credit limits तो नहीं मिलने नहीं वाले. That's where the domestic consumption slowdown is getting sharper because अब credit cycle भी break हो रहा है. Small loan defaults in India hit about 11% this quarter. For comparison, great financial crisis के time पे US में credit default rates had gone to 9%. So this is not something to be taken lightly. India में foreign direct investments have fallen by 96%. Yeah. For every $100 we brought in last year, हम इस साल सिर्फ 4 रुपए लेके आए हैं. और हमारे यूथ के पास पैसे है नहीं, लोन्स पे डिफॉल्ट हो रहा है एंड नए पैसे आ नहीं रहे. कंजम्पशन कहां से आएगा? सैलरीज रेज करना कंप्लीटली डिपेंड करता है आईटी कंपनीज को कितना काम मिलता है एंड दैट कंप्लीटली डिपेंड्स ऑन द ग्लोबल सिनेरियो, मेनली टैरिफ्स. सो अगर टैरिफ्स एक क्वार्टर भी और रुकते हैं तो वी नो दैट द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स इज गोइंग इनटू अ रिसेशन एंड उसका मतलब आईटी कंपनीज के लिए तो बहुत ही मुश्किल टाइम आएगा, व्हिच मींस नॉट जस्ट लोअर कंजम्पशन फ्रॉम एम्प्लॉयड पीपल बट अ वेरी लार्ज नंबर ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयड पीपल, व्हिच वुड मीन even lower consumption. Unless that script is also flipped, यहाँ से तो domestic consumption वापस नहीं आएगा. The other part of the Indian economy जिसने help किया था domestic consumption लाने में was manufacturing, and maybe manufacturing can come back. But there the problem is China has made a very strong comeback. अब China से तुम compete कर नहीं सकते, neither in terms of their logistical timelines nor in terms of cost. So if China does make a comeback, our manufacturing isn't really going to do too well. And you would have noticed हमारे government की subsidies भी dry up हो गई हैं. पिछले साल इसी टाइम पे every month we'd see a new subsidy come up for something or the other, some industry or the other. That is isn't really happening now because the government also knows कि अब subsidies का कोई फायदा है नहीं, because international market पे we can't compete with China unless we get a COVID-25 or something and then we get a China +1 part 2, but then again doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. And that leads me to my base case, which is that we will see a bear market. हो सकता है हम एक small new all-time high बनाए to trap the bulls, but that will not be something that stays. It will be very transient and usually short covering से lead होगी. तो अगर हमें differentiate करना पड़ा तो that's how we'll know. Lower volumes पे होगा, short covering से होगी if it is in fact a bear market rally. Now what I see happening is tariffs will take the US into a recession. China will take a lot of the already weak manufacturing away from us. So which sector can come in to defend our country's economy? Maybe defense, you could argue. But yahan, allow me a conspiracy theory, right? The US is basically the big bully of the defense market in the world. अगर आप Google करोगे defense exporting countries in the world, मतलब जितने देश net defense equipment export करते हैं, you'll notice एक भी non-NATO country नहीं है, barring Russia, which is the most hated country on the planet right now. My point is, the United States will never let anyone else become a net exporter of defense. India is also the biggest importer of defense equipment in the world. So हम US के बहुत बड़े client हैं. I do not believe that the USA is letting go of that easily. So it is a conspiracy theory, but I do think that our defense sector is going to take a big hit somewhere. The US is not going to allow us to win. That is not how empires maintain themselves, right? And the US and the people behind the scenes there are very well aware of that. I have no data to back it up, so don't kill me in the comments, but I do think that this has to happen. It's just something logical. This is something I would do if I was a leader in the United States. To preserve my country's dominance in the world market, I would not let another player as high potential as India come up so fast. You have all the right to disagree with me on anything I've said, but आपको उसे defend करना पड़ेगा. So tell me in the comments, what have I missed? Consumption कहाँ से वापस आएगा? If Nifty is going to go to 30,000 as some people are claiming, then tell me Nifty की earnings 1500 पे कैसे पहुंचेगी? यहाँ से 200-250 रुपए ऊपर, right? About a 15-20% increase in earnings कहाँ से आने वाली है? कौन सी companies? Anything can happen in the market. I could very well be wrong. That is why I am hedged, but I'm also fairly sure that we're going to see a very sudden drop someday. ये periodic नहीं होने वाला, जिसमें 3 महीने नहीं लगेंगे. किसी एक और day the market will start falling, 2 हफ्ते में fall finished. That's how sharp bear markets happen. That's what I'm expecting. Maybe it's a prolonged bear market, maybe it's a bull market. Give me your opinion. I'll see you next time.